Joining me from Washington, D.C. is Ralph Nader, a veteran of several presidential campaigns, public interest activist, New York Times best-selling author, and twice the presidential nominee for the Green Party in 1996 and again in 2000, and also an independent party presidential candidate in 2004 and 2008. And he recently claimed that Hillary Clinton's militarism, which he labels as shocking, the result of overcompensating on her part. What exactly does he mean by that? His latest book is Return to Sender, Unanswered Questions, Letters to the President, 2001 to 2015. Letters sent to Presidents Bush and Obama. These were all actual letters, right, Ralph?
That's right.
So this is not post. You sent them when you wrote them.
That's right. By mail and email.
Okay, and I will get to some of them. We will discuss them at length. I want to get on some current things. What's your outlook at the current presidential scene for 2016? The Republican nominees now with Mr. Trump in the fold and the Hillary Clinton pending nomination.
Well, it's going to be a wild and woolly theater on the Republican side. I mean, there may be 18 candidates. Trump will try to out-theater all of them. But I think that the press is not going to react positively to him, assuming he runs. He's had a lot of false starts in the prior 12 years. And then they're going to have to go after each other. And I think by the time Iowa comes, it'll be thinned down. But there's one difference, Larry, between this election period and before, is a lot of the dark horses, so to speak, have got billionaire patrons. So they're not likely to run out of money the way other candidates, used to be called second-tier or third-tier candidates are.
Yeah, that is a good point. Now, concerning Hillary, you've been a critic of Mrs. Clinton. You recently described Hillary as shocking militarism as the result of her trying to overcompensate for her gender by being more aggressive and macho. You also said she's reversed the tradition of women of peace. Yet isn't she moving more toward the left?
But not on the militarism and on the corporatism. You remember her phrase a couple of days ago when she had a formal statement on Roosevelt Island in New York? She said, democracy is not just for billionaires. Well, you know, I don't know why she phrased it that way, except that she didn't want to cut her ties to Wall Street. I mean, you usually would say something like, democracy is for the people and their blessed future. You know, democracy is not just for billionaires. She's not going to cut her ties to Wall Street. She'll go with the polls on restoring the minimum wage, paid family leave, and some child care. When it comes to taxing Wall Street speculation transactions, she's not going to go with that. When it comes to breaking up the big New York banks who are too big to fail, that's supported by 90% of the people. Left-right support on that one. She won't go with that. And as far as the militarism, it's unbelievable. She's never seen a war she doesn't like. When she was on the Senate Armed Services Committee, she never saw a weapon system she doesn't like. She out-hawks the Secretary of Defense on Libya, topples Gaddafi, and leaves total chaos and sectarian revenge spilling over into Africa, weapons everywhere. It's all in the tradition of some of these macho women who, when they finally get responsible positions like Madeleine Albright, Condoleezza Rice, Hillary Clinton, it's like they have to out-macho the men instead of saying, we come from a peace advocacy tradition. Mother's Day was started by a peace leader, Julia Ward, very eloquent peace advocate.
We'll continue the conversation with Ralph Nader right after the break. Do you have among all of these any politician you're leaning toward?
Well, obviously, Bernie Sanders, the senator from Vermont, is very good domestically, is very good on Main Street versus Wall Street, very good on workers, very good on lowering drug prices, full Medicare for all, everybody in, nobody out, free choice of doctor and hospital, much cheaper per capita, and it's much more freedom and not bureaucratic. He's very good on those issues, Larry. He's still to be more elaborated on foreign policy. I know he doesn't like runaway empire. He doesn't like runaway military budgets. But that's the unfinished part since he announced for president. But it's good. He's going to give Hillary a bigger run for her money than she thinks.
Do you wish Elizabeth Warren would get in?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Jeb Bush?
Dynasty. He's going to just have a replay of George W. Bush. He's not going to separate himself except by letters. He's going to be known as Jeb, Larry, not Jeb Bush. The logo is Jeb. I mean, you know, the Bushes who came from Connecticut, grandfather Bush, Prescott Bush, was my senator. He would send me on request the congressional record and congressional hearings, but he was a tough taskmaster.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why George Herbert Walker Bush, his son, fled to Texas, unfortunately for the country. I don't think Jeb Bush is going to be anything other than a corporatist and a militarist. We need people who stand up for the people of this country.
Let's get to this book. These actual letters you sent. When did you get the idea to turn it into Return to Sender?
After I got about 50 unanswered letters, I said, what am I doing? I'm sending these letters. They're not even acknowledged, courtesy-wise. The Prime Minister of Canada acknowledges letters through his director of correspondence. You don't even know whether it arrived. But I did send the letters around. I'd send it to a certain White House reporter here and there who's specializing in the subjects. A lot of subjects are covered, as you can see. So I thought it's important to tell people they should not fail to write their elected representative, mayors, governors, members of Congress, president. Even if they don't get responded to, they can send the letters around to their friends, to the opponents of the politicians. Yeah. And above all, you know, when you write a letter, Larry, you're just more committed. You're more likely to be an engaged citizen. You're less likely to be a cynic.
You've always been that. You were pretty on the mark here. In September of 2000, you write to President, then Governor George Bush, warning against U.S. government agencies increasing their power to conduct surveillance of citizens. You were on the money there. You saw it coming, huh?
Saw it coming. I saw a lot of things coming in these letters.
You also wrote to members of the family. You wrote to Michelle Obama. Why?
Well, because I sent him a soft letter, Larry, in the summer of 2012 when he was running for re-election. I said, why don't you do what Jimmy Carter did? Go 3 blocks down to the Statler Hilton, a big ballroom. We can have 1,000 leaders of environmental groups, religious charities, labor, consumer, you know, basically his constituency. And you can rev them up and get more people to contribute to all these good works where they help poor children and wounded people and so on. And he wouldn't respond. And so I said, well, I better send it to Michelle on the East Wing. And she responded saying, he's too busy. Well, I anticipated that. In the letter, I said, you know, President Obama, you've gone to India to promote Harley-Davidson motorcycles, Boeing airplanes. You've gone all over the country, photo opportunities in factories. Why don't you go 3 blocks down and talk to leaders of groups that represent millions of members? I mean, the National Council of Churches alone represents millions of members. He wouldn't do it. So that's why I sent it to Michelle.
How do you compare Bush and Obama?
Well, I mean, Obama's better domestically. On foreign policy, if anything, Obama is more unconstitutional, more drones, more intruding into sovereign nations, more killings, announces that he even can kill as a prosecutor, judge, jury, and executioner all in one White House, American citizens, you know, just on his say-so. And he's been much more aggressive in that matter. And he's a constitutional law specialist. He should know better. And I write a lot of letters calling him out on that.
You cost, I know you sometimes, you cost Al Gore the election. If you didn't run in 2000, you got enough votes in Florida, would have pushed him over in that. They wouldn't have had to go to the Supreme Court, and he won the popular vote. He also would have won the electoral vote. You now call for the popular vote to elect the president. Why?
Yeah. you're too smart to make that argument, Larry. There are too many other sine qua nons, and Al Gore disagrees with you, by the way. He thinks it was stolen from him in Florida, he thinks. And
yeah, but if you look at the vote, you cost him the election.
And the vote was suppressed, as you know, in Florida. The Democrats lost a lot of votes from the ex-felon shenanigans, mixing up the names, the butterfly ballot.
Yeah, I know.
You know, okay, I'm never going to convince you, and you won't convince me. But on this one, there is a movement underway, Larry. You should have them under your program, led by a philanthropist, Steve Silverstein in San Francisco. And he started this in 2005 and with 7 people full-time, that's all. He says if states agree by passing laws that say they will throw the electoral vote in their state to whoever wins the popular vote. And if enough states get together to equate 270 electoral votes, that's how much you need to win, then that's the end of this crazy situation where the laughing stock of the world, where in 4 presidential elections, 2000 being the last one, the guy who comes in second in the popular vote becomes president. And they now have reached 165 electoral votes. California has passed the law. Maryland was first. New York is on board. Illinois is on board. All they need is to reach 270, and it's over. We will never have someone coming in second in the popular vote and winning the election because this antiquated electoral vote.
We're out of time. Ralph, by the way, who's going to be the next president of the United States?
I have no idea. I don't think anybody has any idea. Too many variables, too many things can happen.
Ralph, always good seeing you. Stay well.